This is Unplugging. My bid peace to each. I am eternal God, my tongue, my mind, and my heart to be in alignment with your will. We want to continue now with the MK Ultra butterfly. The butterflies inside the Project Monarch in the hood, the G's, and the freaks. Now, why did I call it that? Primarily because when you're talking about mind control slaves being produced by society, being produced by the machines in society, being produced by the way of society, being produced by all of the behavior modification programs that we call entertainment in society, you have two types of slaves produced primarily. One type aimed primarily at males, and one type aimed primarily at females, and yes, they crisscross because we have to understand the Luciferian principle of bisexuality, which is exhibited in the very picture of Baphomet himself, who I started to draw, but I did not feel like creating such a wicked thing on my pad. Uh, the Janus was enough, and the Seducers and the Butterfly, but you get the picture. You've all seen the Baphomet enough to understand and overstand that it has breasts and it alludes to having male genitalia with the snake going down his pants, the snake and the rod, an allusion to male genitalia. But we want to continue on. We don't want to continue to go over things that have already been gone over by researchers who are much more qualified than I. But because I've had personal experience in this, and I find that there's not enough testimony from people who have tried things out. So you hear a lot of gibbetation. You hear a lot of people running their mouths, jiving and signifying and talking about what they believe and what they think and how they interpret the book. But I know one or two simple things, and I know them from actual application. And so I have to share those things because I was once someone who was seeking, like you. And there was a big pool of information that I found, like you have found, but nothing like you guys have. You guys, and when I say you guys, I mean the young generation, my nieces and nephews, like I like to say, the sons and daughters of Zion. You have a plethora of information at your fingertips, and I do not envy you for having to sort through that information. But we are advised by the scripture and by the wise prophets that compile the scriptures to study to show ourselves approved, rightly dividing the word, proving that we can be a workman who need not be ashamed. And I am not ashamed, although there is some controversy, I'm sure, about the way that God has gifted me. You take that up with the Father. I don't have a heaven or a hell to put anyone in, and this is what I have to give, and it's based on the experience that the Creator created, that is manifest in the physical body and form known as Theodore. And so I have to bring it to you that way. Now I will have biters and criticizers, and I've already seen some biters, some people jiving and signifying, and you know, do what you do. I don't mind the biting so much because that's a form of flattery. I feel like George Clinton when it comes to that. A necessity is the mother of invention. If you don't have a thing, you tend to invent it, and that's what made these videos that y'all see. Because I didn't see stuff like this, and I knew I had had experiences in these things, and I was looking for more people to kind of coincide with and co-sign with what I found. And I didn't see so much of that. I saw a lot of the same confusion that I grew up with in the black consciousness community, and I want to break that confusion, A. And then B, I want to deal with things that are not said, things that are not often said. So yes, I have experience with MK Ultra individuals, both types, the alphas, the males that have been programmed to kill and be killers and have the killer mentality. In reality, there are false alpha males. The alpha male that we view in this society, what we consider to be alpha male behavior, is really a bunch of fragile feelings. Men who feel some type of way, overly emotional, sensitive men. You see, the prime candidate for the violent man, a weak minded man, is one who cannot control himself. And this project is all about creating a lack of self control. The goal is mass possession. Okay? That is the goal. Mass possession. And that's for males and for females. So I found females who have the killer mentality, and I found males who have the, unfortunately, who have the Project Monarch sex slave mentality unbeknownst to them, and it disguises itself sometimes as a ladies' man, i.e., Marvin Gaye, who appeared to you and I to be such the ladies' man, and that's the way he was promoted in this devil system. However, we know when we read the story of his biography, and when we put some things together with common sense, because see, we got to bring common sense into play. Some of you people are so heavenly bound that you are no earthly good. Uh, but when we bring common sense into play, and when we bring the physical realm into play, we bring in balance, not duality, but balance. And we are no longer allowing ourselves to be trapped by only seeing things one-sided, because there are always many sides to a three-dimensional thing. But again, you will find the males who are programmed with the female tendency as well. And we have mistakenly looked at this, and because movies have promoted it that way too, we've mistakenly been looking at that as a sign of manliness. The movies that Schwarzenegger and Stallone and the likes, your usual suspects, the movies that they have put together over the years, especially for my generation when we was growing up, those was the tough guy movies, and by and large, it was a bunch of emotionalized, overly sensitive men who could not control themselves and went on violent binges, and that's what you find. That mentality or that thought process is what you find a lot of young men clinging to as manhood, because they have not had the example of manhood properly presented before them by way of a father who is under the Holy Father. Now, and again, I'm of the overstanding that we serve a powerful, eternal, supreme, all-knowing, intelligent, omnipresent, true and living being that is neither male nor female, neither black nor white, but encompassing things that we do not have and things that we do in ways that we cannot understand, thus making it supreme and superior. And for those of you who insist on calling yourself gods, good luck with that. Why don't you create your own YouTube? You're such a god. You are still in the physical laws of this world and of this realm, like your cat and like your dog. So again, I want to make no apologies for the way that the Creator made me. I'm thankful. I'm humbled for the way that the Creator made me. And when you hear people talk down on, because this must be addressed, because I find this coming from both the church and the black community, and I find it coming from the church in general. There is a way that they sneak this and talk down on you if you can speak better than they can, if you have some grasp of academia or some charisma in the way that you speak. Then they get off into the eloquent speech is not beneficial, and all that old type of stuff. But see, if I ask you to describe for me how we should eat, then you want to get off into the eloquent speech of Paul, which is confusion when it comes from Paul. I maintain that all you hear when you're listening to Unplug 'em is a natural phenomenon created by the Most High God, and only the Most High God could create. I was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, went to Detroit public schools all of my life. This voice was given to me, I thought, for rapping. It was given to me for doing exactly what I'm doing now, and no devil in hell will ever stop it. It won't stop till the casket drop. And so therefore, those of you who not feeling it, push on, okay? And if you have a good criticism, and I don't mean necessarily a positive criticism, you can have negative criticism, and that helps to build. But if your goal is to try to stop what God is doing, good luck with that, buddy. But again, baby boy, you stay in your lane, and I'll stay in mine. And if you cross over into my lane, you know, good luck with that. So again, we're talking about the power of MK Ultra to cause division. And one of the things that MK Ultra also does, some of you may be aware of this, and some of you may not be, is it produces false teachers and false preachers who are sent out among the good intended, the user, the listener, who's just sincerely looking for knowledge. and not looking to get jammed up in a trick bag. They get jammed up in a trick bag because they come out here. When I say out here, I mean in this cyber realm. They come into this land of virtual insanity that we call the internet, the World Wide Web, and they enter into this web unaware that there are spiders crawling. And I just want to make you all aware that some of the people that you hear kicking it about the Bible and about knowledge of self and whatnot, some of these individuals have agendas. Some of them are directly connected to secret societies and fraternal orders, and others are just infused with the demonic force of jealousy and haterism. And that energy is one that tells on itself. So if we just be watchful and pray, we shall be protected from that, and it will have none effect. And I'm sorry for even giving it any airtime whatsoever. But again, therein is revelation, I hope, to someone. That yes, everybody that's on here kicking it, especially, my general rule, same one I use for music and for pop culture in general, is if it's too clean, too well promoted, too nice and neat, or whatever, you might want to look at that twice. Alex Jones is the Walmart of this game, and the truthers in Texas, the small time guys, quote unquote, like myself, I'm small time, I'm lightweight jamming out here. They have posted lots of stuff showing him acting as an agent provocateur at their events, causing chaos and disorder, as MK Ultra mind control slaves are designed to do. And there are many different types, but we've been dealing with the basic two programs of the alpha and the beta, the violence. And you see in Alex, you do see the violence and the fear, which goes along with violence. Violence is a reaction that animals tend to make toward fear. Or, of course, when they're hungry and are trying to sustain themselves, what looks like violence occurs. But actual violence, as mankind produces it, is by and large surrounded by the energy of fear. And Alex Jones is a fear promoter. But, again, you have to listen to him. You have to glean what the Most High is allowing to be said, even from lying lips and from deceivers. We have to be watchful, divide the words, and prayerful. So even as you watch and you listen to me, unplug them. Things that you don't understand or don't seem to sit right with you, bring them up. I may need that information myself because there was a time when I was young and did not know these things. Now, most of what I try to deal with comes from experience, and I've experienced this monarch thing, and so let's bring a little bit more of that into light for the time that we have remaining. And if I don't get through it, because I've got about two pages, and we've spent 2 videos on one, I've got at least 2 pages left. So there will be another one if we don't finish this one up today. But that's just a few things I wanted to address. And, again, a big shout out to those who have been encouraging and critical. Brother D'Angelo Fry, Brother Benny Blanco, my main man up there in the north, home team Trey Rush, Brother Brett, fellow musician. I pray for you all, and I bid you all shalom, and let us continue with dominion. Now, the true goal, of course, as we've stated many times, because I got to get that into your head, because you will hear many goals for MK Ultra. The true goal, and see, this is the most damning of information, because this is what they don't want you to hear. What you won't hear others that talk about MK Ultra really dig on, because it helps create chaos that they don't. Because see, you got one side that wants to do everything so clinically and medically and deal with what the physical response of mind control is and blah, blah, blah. And then you have one side that seems to understand that it is indeed a spiritual thing. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood. But it's all about creating the double-minded duality. And if y'all don't mind, I'm going to take a seat right here and rest my feet right here. Ephesians 2:2 gives us the big clue. Now, again, we know that there's Masonic tampering involved in everything in the world around us. If you don't, you need to look again, because this is key to understanding MK Ultra, Project Janus, and the other government projects, the behavior modification program that we live in. This whole thing, you can't point to anything that does not involve mind control programming techniques. So you have the cult flicks or the horror flicks. Horror being a derivative of horus, and cult, of course, culture. But again, a cult, people think of along the lines of a coven, a group of people who are mind controlled. And you have cult films. Well, you have the actors and you are both being programmed. The actors are being programmed through the ritual of filming a movie. Filming a movie itself is a ritual. The rehearsal. Rehearsal is another way of saying a ritual. Okay, and they are subjected to the trauma of drama. And so are you. You get up first thing in the morning and get subjected to the trauma of drama. You want to see who is the baby's mama, who is the baby's daddy, who Maury is exploiting this morning. And I find it quite interesting that both Maury and Jerry appear to be pushing the Zionist agenda. It's also interesting that when you're subjected to having to look at that, or you might be somewhere where someone wants to look at it, and you can't do nothing necessarily to object to that because it's not your house or your place. And you take those opportunities as experiences to learn. And so you what I noticed and what I noted now, as opposed to before, when I used to look at them thinking it was something innocent. And Simone Simon is a star of a cult flick, one of the original cult movies, Cat People. Okay, and again, we know that Bastet or Bast is the cat deity that is used to possess some of these beta sex program slaves, where you get the term sex kitten. Why sex kitten? Do you find cats sexy, my brother? So talk show victims. You have the people that go on there. They're being traumatized by drama, the trauma of drama, and you, as you sit there and look at it and get interested and want to know who's this and who's that, and come out of your reality into theirs, which isn't even reality. I know some people, my barber, my former barber, my main man, my friend, he had went on there one time, and he went on there for one story. They left Detroit with one story. By the time they got there and the producers talked to him and gave them suggestions, quote unquote, or whatnot, they turned the story into something totally different. That's because TV is all about mind control. And if we can get through this page, which is highly unlikely, but if we can get down to the bottom of this page, you guys, the next one, we're going to go down through the many instruments that are used to help push this MK Ultra, Prince of the Power of the Air power across the airwaves. You may have one in your hand, as I do right now. But there are many different devices whose origin and intention for creation is something very different than what we're told and what we learn in school. Now, again, these are things that come from what the old school church folks call revelations knowledge. And for those revelation knowledge or a word of knowledge, and for those of you who feel as if this is not stiff enough or in the church vein enough or in the box of what church is defined as in your mind enough, again, stay in your lane, because this can only be from God, and those that's watching it know it and feel it. So good luck with what you're trying to do, all of you haters. But I digress. So we watch this trauma being played out by way of drama, and they have it for men and they have it for women. Now they have a universal thing. Talk shows is the universal way of doing it. For women, it used to be primarily through soap operas, and for men, primarily through cowboy flicks. Well, now they have a way to kind of catch all with trauma and drama. And look at the flashing graphics and visuals that go on in between scenes when you're watching these things, and you will watch again, but at least watch with your eyes open and with your spirit in full discernment mode, so that you can see what's going on behind the scenes, things that nobody will ever tell you, you'll never read in a book, but when you hear it, you know it's true. That's why God brought this particular individual to you, and he is an infinite creator. No two snowflakes are alike. No two rose petals are alike. No two fingerprints are alike. And this is how it should be. He says, sing a new song unto the Lord. This is my new song. And don't be hating and trying to bite it, because some people like it. Well, that's who it's for. It's for the lost sheep of the tribe of Israel. And I say that that tribe of Israel is a spiritual reality and a physical reality. Yes, they had to have physical bodies, and the physical bodies would have had to look a certain way. But they were constantly reprimanded because of their a lack of matching up in spirit to what God gave them in the physical. Hello. And some brothers and sisters, you should really feel that. Because, yes, we were the original this and the original that. But look at how we act. Who acts like a caveman today? I heard a nephew say out of his own mouth, I'm a young savage. And I understand street slang and the terms out here. And I know what they mean and how they're meant. But I also understand the mind control that is behind them. You speak that over yourself, you will be a young savage. And we have turned to savages, by and large, as a culture, period. But especially those who used to hold that coveted position of the original man. And so until we get it together, you have no reason to boast or brag. Because, see, it's going to take us all to get out of this trick bag. Now, family involvement is a big deal in this programming, because the children, oh my God, the things that they do to the children. The children have to be passed down and sacrificed to the fire, as it was in the olden times, as they were sacrificing the, children to Moloch in the fire, and to the other false deities. You'll find this in the Old Testament. The Israelites have always had a problem with being tricked. My people perish for a lack of knowledge. You're all my people, so let's not perish for a lack of knowledge. So the family involvement, the family can be heavy in the government game, and or the military, and or gangs, and or the dope world. Because once you get to the top of any of these little divisions, any of them, pick one. Once you get to the top of any of these games, you will find secret societies. Even when I used to indulge in video games from time to time, I enjoyed Max Payne. I like ones with good stories and good graphics, and especially ones with stories that I knew reached back into the occult and really dealt with Illuminati themes. And well, once this character Max Payne was going undercover, deep cover, he got to Project Janice Stout, and the line began to blur, as it did in Deep Cover, when you try to be two different people, as Fishburne exhibited in that movie quite well, the way that it takes you over. Well, he began to lean up more on the dark side as the dark side began to manifest itself around him, this character Max Payne. And, I tried to watch the movie, but it wasn't gripping me for some reason, and I can't even relate this to the movie. Maybe some of y'all can. But once you get to the top levels of this game, you find out that the mob is involved in some kind of devil worship. You walk into a room with a big, huge pentagram on the floor, like Proofing then walked into a room with the pentagram on the conference room table, and the candle on each point look like it's drawn in blood, and you hear the mob or mafia boss up at the top level of the house talking sugar honey iced tea at you, taunting you and calling these demon names that were real, actual names of pagan gods, demons, fallen angels. So, again, when you get to the top levels of all of these things, and some of us have family members who have reached these top levels. Well, once you get to these levels, there is no exception to the rule. Everybody plays the fool. And that was Cuba's daddy. So you have the fathers and the mothers, oftentimes giving their children to these programs. And this is one reason why you find so many father and mother, or father and daughter, the Billy Ray Cyrus, Molly Cyrus. You find so much of this, and just relatives. Period. Dionne Warwick was Whitney's auntie, and of course Whitney's mom sang for Aretha, and we know Aretha's connection to the MK Ultra and the things that surround that. And again, these were people who did not go into the music business or the entertainment business looking to be involved in a mind control program. This is what happens. It inadvertently happens once you join the program. So your family involvement, if you're heavy in the government game, heavy in the military game, heavy in the gang game, or heavy in the dope gang, once you get up to the top of whatever game you're heavy in, you will find, as Psalms 2:2 tells us, the kings of this earth conspire together. And that's kings of this, kings of that, and kings of the other, kings of industry, kings of music. They're all down with each other. This is how Newport and Nike can use the same symbol and nobody's suing nobody. Can we rock it like we rock it? All right, EVP, ELF, and EMP. It's another way, of course, that this is produced, that this MK Ultra blanket mass possession is produced, and that's through the airwaves, through the electronic impulses that fly through the airwaves all of the time. We live in a society that's built on things flying through the airwaves, and when they put the Wi-Fi out, see, you got to remember, too, the Most High has given you the experience of someone who is just old enough to be a new elder, but young enough to relate. And, I can remember when certain things began. And I can remember how I felt about them as a young person, and how I feel about them now as one with a little taste of wisdom. And just a little bit, because the wise man knows that he knows not. A ton of things I do not know. But I'm here to share what I do. And if you dig it, God bless you. But again, the EVP, the ELF, the EMP, the droid, the artificial intelligence, the all-seeing iPhone, the cell phone, which is nothing but a prison phone. A young brother, I heard him talking, fussing, basically yesterday about not wanting to buy a cell phone, not wanting people to be able to track him, not wanting people to be able to call him. And it sounded like the rantings of a young man, just PO'd at whatever. But then again, as I listened to it deeply, and I let my soul understand what he was talking about, not just understand it from my base eyes, I really got it. I was like, wow, okay, he is, that's his spirit talking right there. That brother don't even understand what he meant, but he felt it, and that's all you got to do. What's overstood don't have to be explained. Incarceration and institutionalization, both the penal and mental institutions. And I want you to pray for a prisoner of war. Just say, in your prayer, cover, unplug him, his family, and his loved ones, especially his sweet pie. There are ways in which people who are incarcerated are institutionalized, and people who are institutionalized through college and through the mental institution are also brainwashed. Institutionalized mean brainwashed. When you come out the joint and they say that about you, that means you've been brainwashed into liking the joint. You've been institutionalized. But it ain't nothing but a fancy word for brainwashing. Now, one of the number one brainwash movies of all time is The Manchurian Candidate. Now, he received programming triggers by way of the phone. Okay? So do you. By way of your cell or prison phone, your all-seeing iPhone with your bitten apple on the back, which is a Luciferian mockery of Scripture, because it says nowhere in Scripture that an apple was bitten, but it's known in pop culture that that's what people think and believe, and so therefore those who crafted that symbol are making an assault on the psyche of pop culture. And a reptilian, maybe that's the word I should have used. I started to say a Luciferian, but okay, a Luciferian and a reptilian and Luciferian assault at that. So we're at the 30-second mark, and we're just getting started. There's so much on this, and a couple of personal stories that I'm leading the Most High to guide my tongue into, shaping and showing exactly how to share so as not to compromise individuals who are living in full effect. But again, this is MK Ultra in the Hood, G's and Freaks. Stay tuned for the next part. Shalom.